Hey, welcome back to Skuttz Draws. Ever wonder what happens when you cross an orc with a unicorn? Well, I did, and I'll show you what I came up with. So, a long time ago, an artist I was following on Twitter started drawing orcs with pig heads, and I had no idea why, and I absolutely loved it. Upon doing some research, apparently they are called butato, and they are human barbarians with pig heads and snake fangs from Japanese mythology. They are often confused with fictional orcs. This, as well as them being depicted as pig-headed in games such as Dragon Quest. So I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's very interesting, and I love the tusks and the aesthetic. So when I made Uniboar Skuttz, I kind of combined these elements that I liked from the Japanese orc with the pig heads with the things I liked from unicorns, and I came up with the Uniboar. And they're a secretive people, and they just hide away protecting the magics of the world. They're designed to fit into Theros in a way that my DM is able to work them into my character's backstory, so I actually had to come up with other Uniboar than just Skuttz, so that he could have an icon, so that our players could interact with these other Uniboar in the world and get quests or backstory for my own character in-game. So this was one of those rare treats where I decided to spend some time and do a piece of art for myself. And of course, I chose to do it as a time lapse because that's one of my favorite things. I get to try out all kinds of different color palettes and lighting, and it's fun. I don't have to worry about it too much. And as I started out on this one, just seeing how the tusks started to shape out from go, I was so excited to see where it went. And I had this idea, since they follow the flow of magic, to actually have the flow of magic depicted up in the sky and incorporate that as my lighting element. I also chose to keep it just as a bust, since that was all that was needed for a character token, as well as letting me focus on more details in the character themselves. So one of the things about Uniboars is that the magic pools of Theros will shift from time to time, kind of like the magnetic poles of the Earth do. And so they are a nomadic people who will travel from hotspot to hotspot when they shift. I tried to incorporate a lot of things that I personally enjoy drawing as design elements in the Uniboar. So they have really fluffy ears, and more fluff, and more fluff, and a little more fluff just for good measure. In addition to a sort of twisting tree bark-like texture to their horns rather than the typical unicorn spiral, since they're in touch with the magics and nature of Theros. I wanted them to physically reflect nature more. When the magic shifts, the Uniboar have to uproot their settlement and migrate to the new location of the magic. Since I decided Uniboar are nomadic, following the hotspots of magic, it made sense that at some point, some Uniboar would become too old to easily travel the long distances between, and might find one of the settlements as their more permanent home. And so I had fun trying to design a character who looked weathered and aged, and who has seen time and adventures and travels. I would have liked to have been able to spend more time rendering it out and adding more details and making it perfect, but which art piece don't I have that vibe with? Always the perfectionist, right? But these speed paints do make it so I have to just let stuff go sometimes and roll with it, and in the end I get way more practice in by just doing it, instead of getting held up on everything being perfect all the time. I think my favorite part was when I got to come in at the end and add all of the environmental lighting from the almost aurora-like rivers of magic in the sky. It took me a little while to play around with some of the brushes and find a background I liked, but eventually I settled on something I felt looked pretty good. It didn't have to be the focus, it just needed to fill in the background and be complimentary. And it accomplishes that, and so it's perfect. I did great. And here we go at the end. Let's just take one final look at this. Once again, I adore all the fluff. I had fun trying to make the hair look loose and lived in with more stray hairs. I feel like I struggle a lot with making hair too stiff. If you made it this far, I just want to give you the biggest thanks from the bottom of my heart. I put my heart and soul into sharing my art with you. It is my passion, and it means the world to me that you stuck with me till now. So drop me a like if you feel like you found out what happens when you smash a unicorn and an orc together, because today we found Uniboar. If you want to watch more of my time lapses or my crazy art adventures, check out my other videos right here.